guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this week's video. Sorry if I sound a little sick. I got a minor cold, but it hasn't been as bad as it usually is, because usually when I get sick, it's like I'm like super sick for like a month, but it hasn't been this bad. So today I am going to be doing a Q&A, but not just any Q&A. I'm doing a Christian Q&A because I don't know, I feel like my intent with this channel is for it to be a Christian channel and to kind of like spread the word of God and stuff, and I feel like I've kind of strayed away from that. So this is kind of my introduction back into being an actual Christian channel, because I want this to be like somewhere where you can get like, I don't know, just truth. But I also want to throw in some fun videos. Like, I think it's either before or after this one's uploaded, I did like a little bake with me with my boyfriend Caleb, and that was really fun. So yeah, I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, let's just get on with the video. Okay, so I am filming on my phone, so I obviously can't have like the questions on at the same time. So I just like wrote them down in my notebook. So the first one is, how did you become a Christian? So, I mean, I've been a Christian my whole life. I don't know, it was just kind of like, you know, like I grew up in a Christian family, went to church every Sunday, stuff like that. I kind of just like, it was all I knew. So that's what I ended up being. But, yeah, pretty simple, not too extravagant. The next question is, when did you really start growing your relationship with God? So, that's a really good question actually, because I feel like there's a very big difference between I'm Christian because my family's Christian and I follow Christ because I love him. And so I really didn't start growing my relationship with God until last summer, like the summer of 2019, because I don't know, I just had felt like stuck for the longest time. And I feel like the biggest problem for me is because I'm like a 1 on the Enneagram. I'm very like, I do stuff because I should and not because I want to. So I was always just like doing the right thing, trying not to sin, like not doing anything like super bad, not because I loved God, but because I was like, well, I don't want to mess up. Like, I just don't want to do something bad. So I'll try to be a good person because I should, not because like, I don't know, I want to follow God's commands. So it was like over the summer that, I don't know, my boyfriend kind of like called me out on some stuff, because I was like, I don't know why I keep feeling like stuck in my relationship with God, because I'm not really moving forward, I'm not really moving backwards. Like, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a relationship at all. It was just kind of like trying to do the right thing, and I'm going to church, that's it. And so he kind of called me out. He was like, you can't love God if you don't know God, which is very true. And I hadn't even realized that myself, that I didn't even like know God. So why did I expect to like love him so much if I didn't really know who he was? Like, I was like, yeah, it's God, but that's it. And I feel like the best way to come to know God is through the Bible. So I started actually reading the Bible, not just like hearing verses when I was at church. And I dedicated like some of my morning time to reading the Bible, and I just kind of grew to know who God was, and that's what helped me enter into like a real relationship with him. And yeah, I think the Bible is so powerful, and I kind of underestimated how important it is, and I just kind of saw it as like stories from a long time ago that didn't really apply today, but it's really living word. Like, it applies, like you can read the same thing within like a few weeks apart, and it just has a completely different meaning. You like notice completely different things. I think that's so interesting. So yeah, it was the summer after my junior year for a specific answer. Next question, juicy one. Thoughts about sex before marriage? No sex before marriage. That's my thoughts. I mean, I'm not gonna like say like, oh, if you had sex before marriage, you're a horrible person, because that's not true, and there's forgiveness. And obviously I'm not gonna like tell you what to do, because that's like your own decision. And like, I don't know, you just have to kind of like, it's just, I mean, the Bible clearly says like, don't have sex before marriage, don't like flee from temptation, flee from sin, like don't fall into sexual sin, like stuff like that. So I mean, I kind of always knew that I was gonna be a virgin until marriage, and I'm not ashamed to say it. It's true. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know what else to say. But next question. Does it feel like to you sometimes the writings in the Bible contradict themselves? So, because as you know, I am a recent Bible reader, so I don't know that much about it. I don't know. I feel like there are some contradictions, especially between the Old Testament and the New Testament, but also like it's important to keep in mind like there's a very big difference between Old Testament and New Testament. New Testament, Jesus came. Like a lot of the things from the Old Testament don't exactly apply now. So I guess like that's where most contradictions would come from, but I don't really know any like specific ones. I think there's not that many, and if there are, it's between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and that's kind of like for other reasons, not like God being like, oh, whoops, I didn't mean that. You know what I mean? I don't know, I'm not a theologian, so that's probably a really bad answer. Next question, how do you stay true to God when everyone around you is judging you for it? Okay, such a good question because it is really, really hard to do. So hard to do, especially at school, and especially if you go to a school that's like a public school, I don't know, just a school that's not Christian. It's very frustrating and kind of lonely sometimes, and I feel you, I really do. Actually, when I saw this question, it kind of like inspired me to write a blog post about it, so hopefully soon I'll have that blog post up and you can check that out, because I kind of like dive deep into like how to navigate those waters, because it's really hard and frustrating. And I just think best piece of advice that I can give you is you're not of this world. You're not meant to be loved by this world. You're going to be hated by this world. It says in the Bible like a gazillion times that we're going to be persecuted for Christ. But it's just so important to remember like Christ is worth so much more than the approval of others. Like infinite times more than the approval of others. Like literally in 2 days, I will not care if that one person thought I was weird because I talked about Jesus. And I do think I have a very long way to like truly like not letting other people judge me, or not letting other people's opinions like stop me from expressing what I believe. But I think the best thing you can do is just hold on to the truth that you're just not of this world and you are made for so much more, and that our main goal as followers of Christ is to spread his gospel and just help other people grow closer to him. And the best way we can do that is through just like loving other people. So I honestly think like if you're having a hard time and people are judging you, keep loving them, and they're gonna be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, why is that person so nice to me when I'm kind of like talking bad about their beliefs? You know what I mean? Like, don't just let them walk over you and be like, okay, yeah, I guess. But just kind of like standing true to your foundation in Christ and just continuing to love other people, just not like being nice to them, but just like loving them with like the love that Christ loved others, because God is love. So I don't know, I feel like I didn't say that very well. I do like explain all of that with scripture in my blog post, which I will link down below. That is something that definitely a lot of us struggle with, and I feel like a lot of you guys who follow my channel struggle with that. And it's very like, I feel like it's just not talked about enough, because I don't know, obviously there's not like a lot of authors that are like high schoolers or like I guess like college authors, but I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Next question. Ooh, this one's gonna get a lot of heat. What is your opinion on abortion? Yeah, I'm pro-life. So you can check out my Instagram post and I'll insert a picture of it. Didn't change the law. I just shared my opinion. It's okay if you have a different stance on abortion. That's totally okay, because I know it's such a sensitive topic, and I'm not gonna say like, what's wrong with you that you're pro-choice, because I understand that everyone has different opinions and not everyone's a Christian. But I mean, there is scientific evidence that life begins at conception, and I stand by that. Okay, next question. How do you act Christ-like during school when everyone else isn't? So that question is really similar to the other one. I kind of already talked about it, but yeah, I think like the best way is by just loving others so much that they're like, okay, what is wrong with this person? Like, they have to have something like amazing. And you're like, yeah, that's Jesus. Jesus is just that good that I can keep loving you even if you're mean to me. So I don't know, I just think that's really cool, like, to think about, like, it's so hard, like, I literally don't, I'm not gonna say, like, oh, yeah, you have to, like, love people radically because I do that, because I really don't do that, and I have such a long way to go, but I feel like just reading these questions has kind of made me realize, like, I have a long way to go, and I need to work on that. But, yeah, I do think the best way that you can continue to act Christ-like is just realizing, like, there's more than this. And I mean, are you really gonna let, like, people judging you stand in the way of you going to heaven? Like, if you really think about it like that, like, are they really that worth it? That's just something to think about. Is just that there's a lot more value to life and more important things than the opinions of people at school, especially if you're in high school or in college, because you're leaving like 4 years. So what pulls you back to your walk with God when you're straying away? That's a really good question, actually. I feel like obviously, like, the Bible is what pulls you back, because that's just truth, and that's literally like God speaking through pages, words on pages. I think something else is I have a really hard time even, like, realizing when I'm straying away. Like, I'm kind of like in denial and I don't even realize it. But luckily my boyfriend is very aware of, like, everything. I don't know. But he is always someone who is not afraid to call me out, and I am eternally grateful for that, because I could stay so long in just, like, a state of, like, denial and not even realizing that, like, I'm not doing so hot in my faith, because I easily fall into the trap of, like, doing things because I should, not because I really desire that. And I think Caleb is someone who can just, like, see that in me so quickly, and he's like, you need to get back on track, and I'm like, yes, I do, and I didn't even realize I was off track. So, yeah, I think having someone that you really trust and who can really hold you accountable for stuff like that, if you struggle with that, I don't know if anyone else struggles with that, maybe it's just me, but that's very important. And then just, like, the Bible is so powerful. Like, obviously, I'm not saying, like, oh, I'm straying away from God, so let me just, like, open the Bible and I'll just land on the perfect page and all of a sudden I'm perfect. Like, that's not how it works. But I think, like, once you start dedicating time to, like, reading the Bible and, like, going through chapters or following a Bible plan, like, that's when you start to, like, really get to know God and love him more, and that kind of, like, pulls you back, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I think that's definitely something. And then also, like, it's obviously not as important because the Bible's, like, here and then, but I think, like, listening to, like, videos or podcasts from, like, just, like, Christians who kind of, like, made podcasts about that stuff. Like, sometimes you can just, like, search up, like, I'm kind of, like, struggling with this right now, and watch a video about it. And, like, I'm not saying, like, just, like, watch it, like, to feel good about yourself, because I feel like sometimes we do that too. But just, like, sometimes you can find a video that, like, God kind of, like, puts in your life to, like, really speak to you and call you out and stuff, and that can kind of, like, help you get back on track and be like, okay, like, I'm way too, like, in, like, this world and, like, earthly mindset, and I'm not really focusing on what's more important, which is higher than this. So I feel like that's kind of, like, the root of all our issues when we're straying away from God, is we kind of shift from, like, an eternal godly mindset to, like, earthly, and we just start getting, like, tied up in, like, materialistic things, like, I want money, I want clothes, I want friends, like, stuff like that. And it kind of, like, leads us into sin, because we're just so focused on things of this world. So I think kind of just, like, first of all, identifying what exactly is causing you to stray away from God. And it's not just like, oh, like, my faith isn't that good. Like, there's something specific in your life, whether it's sin or just kind of, like, your mindset, that is causing you to kind of have this fractured relationship with God, because sin fractures our relationship with God. Like, that's just facts. And so I think if you realize what that is, and you can kind of, like, read in the Bible, maybe dwell on some verses that kind of, like, tie to that issue that you're having, or watching some videos, talking to someone that you trust, like, I don't know, I just think it's very, very important to not just, like, live in denial about that, because I do that way too much, and it's really dangerous and really bad. So, yeah. Last question is, what is your testimony? Which is a really good question, but I'm not going to answer it right now, because I do want to make like a separate video about this because I feel like obviously it's like way too long to fit in this Q&A. If you would like to hear my testimony, give this video a thumbs up. That's kind of it for this Christian Q&A. I actually really enjoyed doing this. Like I don't know why I haven't been making Christian videos. I guess I'm just kind of like feeling a little inadequate or out of ideas. I don't know what you guys want to hear or like people care, you know what I mean? And I kind of tend to ramble when I talk about God. It's kind of confusing. But yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, comment down below any concerns, critiques, compliments. And then of course, as always, let me know if there's any videos that you want me to make. And because I'm honestly I don't know what you guys want, so let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.